Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Wells Enterprises, and then we're going to talk a little bit about data. I've been with Wells Enterprises for 28 years. I started as a milkman, so I'm not the traditional guy that goes and works someplace for 5 years and moves on. So I went from milkman to maintenance technician, worked my way up, and now I'm in management at the corporate level. So I've got some history and some background that helps me understand, from a maintenance and reliability perspective, what data needs to be used and what data works. Wells Enterprises is a family-owned company. We're in Lamars, Iowa. Who knows where that's at? Nobody. Exactly. It's a town of about 9,500 people, but it is the ice cream capital of the world. More ice cream is produced out of that one city than any other place in the world. So there's a lot of ice cream. And no, we don't have all the cows there. The cows are not there. And the question will be asked today before we get to the round tables about where's the ice cream? Did I bring some ice cream? No, I did not. So if you want to get up and leave, that's fine. We're not going to have ice cream today, sorry. We have about 2,500 employees, 120 million gallons of ice cream annually. Some fun facts just to give you some interesting information about Wells. 1.2 million pounds of pecans a year. If you took the Big Bopper sandwiches and you stacked them up that we made in a year, it would be 500,000 feet into the sky. So that's a lot of Big Bopper sandwiches. Who likes chocolate? So we take some chocolate, we pour that over a football field, matter of fact, 45 football fields, and that's the chocolate we use in a year to cover some of our products. So it gives you a little understanding of the amount of product that we use. For instance, who's had a popsicle in the past year? Anybody? Yeah? The little stick that goes in there? So if you take those sticks end to end, about 1.5 billion of those a year will go around the equator a little over 3 times. That's a lot of wood. So that kind of gives you the size of our operation. We have an Oracle footprint currently on 12.1.3. We've been an Oracle customer, Oracle shop since '97. We implemented EAM. We had a freestanding, standalone system that did not connect to anything for many years, a legacy system that just didn't do the job for us, and we decided to get integrated. I'm a maintenance and reliability guy, so I'm going to necessarily speak to that, to my strengths a little bit. So here's a little bit of information about Wells, a couple hundred maintenance guys, 50 production lines, about 45,000 items in our storeroom, and you say that might be a lot. Well, most of our equipment is built in Denmark, and it's not a really quick trip from Denmark to Lamars, Iowa, so we need to keep a lot of our parts in hand, and we have an engineering facility that we utilize, and I heard somebody talk earlier today about 3D printing. We utilize 3D printing to help us remanufacture parts that, if I'm going to go over to Denmark and buy them, it's going to be $5,000, and I can build that part here in the States for a couple of $100. So we utilize that kind of a technology in-house. Now, down to some of the information. Key differentiators. The information that we get from our assets is information that normally we put into our assets. How are we running the machine? How is the machine supposed to run? What are some of those analytics that come off of the machine, predictive technology type? That information, and even failure information. You have the maintenance mechanic go to a production line, go to a unit out in one of your fields, repair an asset, fix an asset, PM an asset. All of that information helps us create a more sustainable asset in the future if you use the information properly. So the information that we get helps drive what we do day to day. And you'll see in a little bit here why that's important. It's very important that we use what's there already versus trying to create more information. Sustainable reliability helps us continue to have a seat at the boardroom table. If in fact we can make sure that our assets produce what they're supposed to produce and create that capacity is profits. If you're in a sold out condition and you can make more, you're making more money. So capacity is profit. So the sustainable reliability helps us get there. Full utilization of those assets is what it's all about. How many of you have assets that are sitting there not producing for you today? We do. We all do. We have time during that day. In our production cycle, we run 2 10-hour shifts, and there's 4 hours every day for every line that we can't run it. Well, we have to clean it up, and you guys probably appreciate that, so we clean it up every day, right? But that's 4 hours of lost time. What if we could knock that down to 3 hours? 50 production lines, an extra hour every day. What's that add up to? It's a lot of production. So utilizing that information to understand if we do need that full 4 hours or if we can knock it down to 3 is very important. That increased capacity means increased profits. A couple of interesting facts about our EAM metrics. These are very rudimentary metrics, but they're powerful. Predictive maintenance, proactive work, PM compliance are leading indicators telling us where we're going. In 2013, our proactive work was in the 72% range. If you were to ask me that question where we were at 10 years ago, nowhere close to 72%, but it makes a big difference. Compliance. So we say we're doing 72% of our work proactively, but are we doing it? Are we actually doing it? So we're about 86% compliant with that plan. You'll see in a minute why that's critical to the information. Some of the lagging indicators here, downtime. I saw a graph yesterday that showed downtime, and you'll see one here again. That time that we can take and put back into the business cycle helps us run more efficiently and helps us make money. So downtime is really what we're after. All the analytics, all the information that we're after here helps us create less downtime. This is a graph that you can see our downtime over the past few years. That doesn't happen by itself. That doesn't happen through attrition and new people. That happens through utilizing the data that comes from the assets, utilizing all the information, and not just maintenance and reliability information. It's operational information. It's information that comes with the asset. It's information that comes from the OEM that built the asset. All of that information is utilized to help create a situation where you can reduce that downtime. And that's what we're all here for, is creating time for our equipment to run. Now, what data do we use today? This is going to look very simple to you guys, but it's very important. There are some segments that we're utilizing, and there's more data that we use, but these are 4 of the indicators that I like to use. Asset failure data. What happened to the asset? What's wrong with the asset? And I'd love to have a conversation sometime and talk about what's right with the asset. What did we do right to make it run? We're always focusing on what went wrong. Root cause failure analysis. What if we did a root cause success analysis? Wouldn't that be different? I think we would find something in that. Asset failure data is important. One of the other large things that we do is we collect information off of all of our assets in the running mode. So, for instance, if I'm making ice cream bars, and the ice cream bar has gone all the way through the process, and we're cartoning it, we're putting it into a box, and that boxer stops. Guess what? Everything upstream has to stop too. And when that stops, then we have waste. So it's very important that that full asset line has to run all together. Nothing can stop. It's continuous. But when that boxer or that cartoner stops, we have information systems that grab the information out of the PLC, give it to a data source, and then at that data source, the operator can see what the problem is, utilize that information, correct what's going on, and then tell the system what they did to fix it. So if I just received that information and said, hey, you've got a jam on your boxer, and opened and cleared the jam, shut the door, and didn't answer that question, and I had 10 of those a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, that's a lot of downtime, and I don't know why. When the operator answers that question, why did that boxer stop? That's data that we use to go back and say, okay, I've had 50 of these incidences and 2 of these. Let's look at these 50 over here. It's very important information for us. Along with real-time event notification. If you were to look on my cell phone right now, you would find a couple. Let me go look real quick, just so I'm not lying to you. You would find that this morning we had a downtime event, and it was 65 minutes on the 18 wide 2 line. So if we have triggers that tell us, okay, we have an event, now we need to go put in a root cause analysis of why we had that problem. So we use information, we push it out to the people that need to know the information, and it's real time. We also have a system that we built in-house called WIMS that gives us that real-time information. Any operator, any manager, any supervisor can go into the WIMS system and see how that line is producing real time. That's important to understand when to shut the line off. Maybe they're behind, or maybe they're not behind. Maybe they're ahead of schedule and they can shut the line down early and get some maintenance done or some other repairs. One of the other items that we've utilized recently, how many of you have performed or been involved in a failure mode effect analysis? Anybody? A couple of you? Not very many. Probably a different term for you. Failure mode effect analysis is taking all that information that we've been gathering over years and putting that together to understand how we can care best for our assets. And that's really what we're here for, is to understand how to care best for the asset. Is the asset going to last 5 years? Is it going to sustain good production numbers for 5 years? Or can I stretch that out for 10 years? How can I sustain that asset for a longer period of time? The FMEA process helps us put all that information together, and we utilize that to figure it out. So it's really no use in crying over spilt milk, honestly. It's good information to use. So when you have a problem, take that problem and use the information that comes from that. Some new projects might be kind of interesting to you. Automated update hours. We have assets, and let me tell you, we have assets all over the place. If you've ever been in a ice cream or a production plant like that, we have assets that are bolted down, but we have just as many, if not more, assets that are rolled around into a line. So if I'm going to produce banana split ice cream, a half gallon of that, I have to have 3 fruit feeders, 3 revel pumps, all connected in with the other standard equipment that's on there. Well, I'm not sure if those 3 are available because I might be producing something else on another line. So how do I know that I have the available equipment there? How do I know that I have enough equipment to run that product? What's the recipe of equipment for that product to run? So we're working on some ideas to make sure that we can capture all that information, utilizing the asset information, tagging those assets, checking them in on the line. Now when I check that asset in on the line, I could also take the run hours during that day and put on that asset. When I take the run hours, now I know how long it's run, instead of, well, every month we're going to go work on this. We think it ran, but we're not sure because we don't know where it was. So utilizing that information, very rudimentary, but it's very powerful in making sure you sustain your assets and sustain your reliability, which, in fact, sustains your profitability as a company. Mobile asset assignment is very important to us. It's not just important to me from a reliability perspective, but it's important to the guys that are setting up the lines. Did we do it right the first time? That information is very important. We are just working on another mobile app that takes information from our engineering department. For instance, if I had built a new filler at our engineering department, I can now take that filler, take the drawing from that filler, pull it up while I'm on the line, explode it, turn it around, look at it, and find the bill of material right on the production line of that filler. We have that capability today, and it's a free app. Free app. So information that we put on our assets can follow through with that, and it's usable by the guys on the line every day. So some of the stuff that we're doing in the future, critical assets, we're automating our updating our run hours on those critical assets, and we're setting up and getting time available and creating more availability, making sure that those assets are available at the right time. That's all I have for you today.